How you doing?
Hey, how's it going? How are
Good.
you?
Good, man. How's things going for you?
Good, yeah. Just, same old, same old. How about you?
Good. Hey, the way I found out about you, I was listening to David Bingham's YouTube channel, and I had watched your interview there with David. Very interesting. Have you talked to him since that first one, or?
No, I've only ever had one with him. Yeah.
Okay.
hmm
And how did that go for you? What did you think?
It was great. Yeah. I mean, David's really sweet. It's just it's a mysterious miracle, all of this, that and I'm so grateful for all the people who've come along
Yeah.
that shine that, you
hmm
know. So it's nice. It was really nice. Yeah. Have you done sessions with David?
Yeah, what happened before he had his YouTube channel, the way it went about for me, my story is that I was listening to The Secret by Rhonda Byrne, and then
Gotcha.
she came out with are you familiar with that book?
Yeah, definitely.
About like
Yeah.
manifesting, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then she came out with a new book called The Greatest Secret. I don't know if you had listened to that one or read that one.
No, I haven't, but a couple of other people that I've hung around are in that book as well. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah,
Yeah.
so I heard David's like one of the featured teachers in that book.
Yeah.
So I was listening to the audiobook and he said something in there. He said, you are the infinite being having a human experience.
Hmm.
And so up to that point in my life, I always thought like I was this separate person, Rob. I was limited. I had all these problems, suffering, all that kind of stuff. So I started asking questions, why is there suffering in this world? Like, what's going on? It just didn't feel right with me. But when he
Yeah.
said that, like, he was like, you are the infinite being, having a human experience. Something about you're the infinite being. I never really thought, of myself
Yeah.
that way. I'm like, well, what do you mean? But it was almost like it resonated like on another way, like maybe a
Hmm.
subconscious way or whatever. And so when I had heard that, like everything kind of shifted for me. I was like, wait a second, I'm
Hmm.
not this limited person, Rob. This awareness or this aliveness, this beingness that's here, that's been here the whole time since I was a kid. I had labeled it Rob, and
Yeah.
the conditioning of the world and your parents and just life in general just kind of conditioned you that way.
Yeah, for
So
sure. I
have you
mean,
had that
so
experience?
well,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I was gonna say my version of that though is I would phrase it as infinite being. I would rephrase it as happiness.
Okay.
Because for me, it was the surprise was like previously in my life, happiness hadn't even been something I considered a thing
Yeah.
in my life, and until I experienced it, which is the same thing, right? I mean, we call
Right.
it infinite being or happiness, but um, so when I experienced it, that was just a big shock. That was even something that should be a priority because I think most not mostly 100% of society deems it, you know, ancillary, not a primary function of what life should be. So
Yeah, because they just kind of see the world as I live 60, 70, 80 years and then I die and the whole time there's all these
totally,
problems.
yeah,
I'm stressing out, I'm striving for all these goals and all that. Everybody's like looking out here for happiness, looking for the money, looking for
totally,
the right career,
yeah,
the right relationship. But the whole time, if they would just turn their attention back inside, that's what happened to me. I just kind of looked inside and I was like, wait,
totally,
what am I really? And I found this profound inner peace, this inner stillness, this beingness that I felt inside. And I felt that is what felt whole and complete. It
for
was
sure.
that. It wasn't attaining these other things. I did attain, money, jobs, career, all that kind of stuff, but it was still fleeting, and I didn't feel that inner sense of completeness or wholeness.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I think it's just not thought of as attainable at all. It's thought of as like a pipe dream,
Yeah.
you know? Um, and also it's sort of denigrated. Like to think about being happy or to try to be fulfilled is like you're living in the clouds or
You're in
you
fantasy
should
land,
probably
right?
you should
You're in
probably get a
fantasy land.
job. You should get a
Yeah.
job,
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
how much money's in the bank, basically. It's
Yeah.
more, so much more important,
Yeah, it's funny because since I did that with David, then we went back and forth in email, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you realize your true nature," and then he had me do some interviews and stuff like that. So I did that, and then people started contacting me, and then I started this channel, Effortless Being,
Yeah.
and then I was doing interviews with people, and like some people are like we're having conversations like this. Some people would just realize their true nature, or they get some clarity about life or how to integrate it, this newness, this knowing their true nature into their everyday life, kind of like what we're talking about, like happiness
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So it's been pretty cool, like just how it's all been like coming about.
Amazing. It's amazing how it all, I mean, it kind of organically unfolds. One of the things for me, it was like once I really understood this, I realized that it's everywhere. Like everyone's talking about it without knowing they're talking about it. Everyone is doing it. I mean doing it, whatever that means, but it's very blatant in the world. Um like I saw it everywhere where before it was like everyone was just miserable.
Yeah. I noticed
So,
on your call with David, like he was talking to you about effortless being or impersonal beingness, that mode of
yeah.
experience versus the personal mode of experience. Did you find that helpful when he was making that distinction between the two?
Yeah, it's so interesting because like I think it's like teachings or like understandings even are a perfect means to an end.
Yeah,
But then
true.
once they accomplish their function,
They
it's
drop off. Yeah.
like, yeah, well, and it's also just like the truth is what I am naturally already without doing anything special.
Yeah.
It's just that I didn't it's just that I had sort of like there was like a weird oh, that's something other than what it really is. I was kind of treating it as something else. So, yeah, definitely like these pointers of impersonal being are definitely helpful. I mean, it's helpful because it's like the truth, what we originally think is personal being.
Right.
Helpful
Yeah.
to unroot the idea of personal being.
Yeah.
But then it's just being. Then it's just like, it just goes back to so normal. It's like the most simple thing is the most profound thing.
Yeah, it's like right here. Like we've always been this naturally, and everything's unfolding naturally. But the whole time, we get in our minds, and we're like, oh, I got to control this situation.
Yeah.
You get in like in that headspace, and it's like thoughts about thoughts about thoughts. But the whole time, we're just remaining right here, right now, in this
Yeah.
beingness, and everything's just unfolding, and there's really nothing to really even do in a sense because it feels effortless, like as life's just happening effortless. But then the mind comes in or your thoughts come in later and starts labeling it and putting all these meanings on it. Have you had
Yeah.
that experience? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, but also in a way like it's interesting like you're like first you're a person and then you realize that there's something about like non-duality and you investigate all these things and then I'm trying to think of where I was going with this. But oh yeah, but so originally is a problem.
Yeah.
Like that's how it's thought of.
Right.
I'm a person and I'm ignorant and now I need to become impersonal and non-ignorant.
Yeah.
But then the beauty of that though is that once I recognize my that I am already free, this like mind taking and becoming personal is a beautiful mechanism. Like the fact that there is an illusion of separation at all is a beautiful demonstration of total freedom.
Love
You
that.
know, so yeah, so it's like ignorance isn't really a problem. Ignorance is actually, I mean, and also the reason I would go into ignorance, believing to be
Ignorance is bliss, would you say?
I
Not
don't
going
know.
too
I don't know.
far.
Yeah, yeah. Well, but the thing, it's like,
It's okay not to know, right?
it's totally, yeah, exactly. But it's like, but it's more like I realized what I was getting out of it. Like I wasn't like going and believing to be a person actually gives me something. Like I really somehow I enjoy it. I do it because I enjoy it.
Right.
And so yeah, so it's like there's no yeah. So yeah,
But you
yes,
but you see but yeah, but you see through the illusion. Like a lot of people, that's all they know is just being this
yeah,
separate person. The problem comes in is when they think that they're this separate person, they feel limited. And that's kind of like when the suffering comes in, is when you feel like you're a limited person. But if you know, you could still play like in the role of duality. You can play your different roles as like I know you're
yeah,
an actor or whatever, if somebody is a dad or whatever it is, you can still
yeah,
play those roles. But and like David was saying with the which I like what he did with the invitations, like the thoughts would come and then you could decide which ones you want to entertain or give your energy to.
yeah.
Yeah, that part.
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, but also, um, like, yeah. So suffering definitely is the belief to be a person for sure. But it's sort of like the beauty of that is that in the midst of it, I've sort of given myself an alarm clock. Like
Uh,
once it gets too heavy,
yeah,
oh, like suffering is a wake-up call.
right.
Suffering is a wake-up call that I've somehow lost myself in my
Like
own
the bells
freedom.
and red lights going off. Beep, beep,
Yeah.
warning, warning.
Yeah, totally.
And then what do you
Totally.
do at that point when you see yourself as the person, the warning lights are going off, then you just gotta
Well, I would say that like the experience of recognizing that suffering is happening is already freedom from suffering.
love
So
that.
there's nothing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It kind of just
totally.
all happens, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
totally.
you're from New York City then, right?
Yeah, I live in New York City. I'm from
Yeah,
Chicago originally, but I live in New York City.
where originally?
Chicago.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I grew up in Long Island, which is, it's in New York. It's not New York City, but it's out in Long Island. I graduated there, went to high school and everything there. I tell you, you know what I miss about New York the most?
What do you miss about New
The
York?
delis.
Oh yeah. But they're not really here anymore.
Now, well, in the city, right? But more in Long Island, they probably have more of that.
In Long Island,
Because when I
probably.
go to visit, I like get my bacon, egg, and cheese on a bagel. And I heard you in your interview with David talking about the compulsion with food or something. So you said something
Yeah.
about that. I don't know. That was
Yeah.
funny. I get the same way. I like my foods and stuff like that from the personal
Yeah.
side. You know what I mean?
That's been a really big thing for me because I think when I first found the truth, it was like my whole life had been seeking for relief or seeking just something. My life was such a dumpster fire that I just needed something. And I found a bunch of things before I found non-duality. And once I found non-duality, I thought it would just be this total fix it for all my problems, which ultimately it is in the most fundamental level. But in my relative life, there's still been stuff to really work out, you know. So it's been a real challenge, some of the compulsive addictive behaviors that I've had,
Right.
but also like such a blessing to have to figure out um like just how to be a person and take care of myself as a human body mind, you
Love
know.
that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that.
It is not all bells and whistles. It's
No, a
like
lot of people think, oh, when you realize your true nature, there's, that everything's just going to be bliss. You're just going to be
yeah.
like blissed out. You're going to have no problems.
Yeah.
But what we realize after that is after self-realization is that we can always remain as the pristine infinite being, the sovereign being, but yet we can still play in the world of duality. That's why I like the way David talks about the koshas. So it kind of gives like a framework that you
Yeah.
can relate, the different life experiences that you can have, from the body of bliss to, effortless being to, the mental body and the emotional body, and then of
Yeah.
course the food body, and then you have unity consciousness with the effortless being and the bliss body, and then with the mental, emotional bodies and the physical body going into the world of duality. So you can it's almost like the infinite being is peering through those different bodies, or however you want to say it, those lenses, and having those experiences. But the whole time, the infinite being is never harmed or hurt by anything happening in
Yeah.
the manifestation. That's kind of cool to know that. That's kind of peaceful to have that framework.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, every teaching is just about what we're not, basically.
Yeah, not this, not that.
Yeah,
And then when you
exactly.
go not, what's left is then it just reveals itself. It's just this.
Yeah. And I think actually like it's very hard I mean, amongst my friends, I mean, I don't know. It's very hard, I feel like, to accept that what we're talking about as this ultimate reality is what we already are
Yeah,
and not something that's going to be attained or because even in non-dual spiritual circles, there's this idea that you have to have some sort of Ramana Maharshi experience or that you have to go through ego death or something like even
night of the
people who are
soul or something. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I mean,
totally.
that's and self-realization. Really, it isn't an experience because experiences come and go. It's just
Yeah,
what you already are. You're
totally.
already it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what's
Exactly.
amazing about it. It's so funny. Like when you see it, it's just kind of like, why was I getting like so in my head about all this stuff? It's just this awakeness, this sense of existence that's always been here. That's what it is. But yet
Yeah.
the mind or the thoughts are telling you that it's not that, and then you believe them, and then you go off on this tangent and having these sufferings in the sense that you're believing these limited thoughts or about yourself, and the whole time I mean, because if I just stop right now and just my direct experience, I always like to go back to my direct experience. Like, what am I experiencing right now? Like if I
Yeah.
look around right now, all is well. I mean, there's no problems here. everything's good. It's just that when I get in my head and I start thinking about stuff, that's when the suffering or the
Yeah.
so-called suffering or the apparent, problems are coming in. But the whole time, then if I just fall back, like
Yeah.
it's just that, like what's really wrong. Like I like what Sailor Bob said. It always resonated with me. Like what's wrong with right now unless you start thinking about it.
Totally. Well, that's like the I love Sailor Bob too.
Yeah,
That's kind of the mind fuck of all of it is that everything we're saying about non-duality is actually like a concession
yeah,
to someone seeking something.
right.
Like it's always about this direct, like this experience of this moment now, you know?
Yeah, because the
Like
mind's always comes in late to the party. Because it's always like we could
totally.
literally just sit here in silence and just be like,
Totally. Yeah, of course. Yeah,
"That's
yeah,
it.
yeah.
This is what
Yeah,
it is." I mean, what else is there to say after that?
totally. But it's also like all of the hypotheses and it's beautiful. Like it's like an absolute blessing to be privileged to talk about. It's
Yeah.
a miracle to even guess about it. It's beautiful. So
Yeah, I've talked to some people like doing interviews. Some of them got involved like with radical non-duality or like Tony Parsons. I don't know if you're familiar with any of that kind of
yeah,
stuff.
totally, totally.
Yeah. So some of them get to that point where they just, they'll just be like, "Oh, there's just nothing here. There's nothing." And yet I see some of them, still experiencing suffering in the life
For sure.
experience. So what I try to do is just to point out that, even though we know our true nature, what we truly are, we're whole, we're complete, you know, but you can still enjoy the dualistic world. You can still, like what coaches are saying, you can still, enjoy being a person in this world because we're still doing that like right now. So why not accept the invitations of joy and bliss and euphoria and those kind of things?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I could say a lot about sort of Neo Advaita things because for me the experience of I've been around a couple of people and friends and teachers of that kind of direct radical non-duality. And for me too, like the main thing is there's not a lot of happiness or joy or peace
You saw that too, yeah. Okay.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like because I think there's nothing to do if it's like there obviously is something to do if the one listening believes to be a separate person.
Right.
I mean, the idea of there's nothing to do is that somehow by saying that it's going to overcome that belief. But like you can't overcome a belief in separation through secondhand knowledge. It has to be through first person direct experience,
Yes.
So it's like because no one telling me I'm not a person 500 times is going to actually make me
Yeah,
believe
you got to
that.
see that for yourself.
Yeah, even if I take on the belief that I'm not a person,
Yeah.
it's another belief.
Right. That's all it is. It's
Yeah,
just
it's just
another
another
belief.
belief. Yeah,
But the whole time we're just remaining here right now. Everything's
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So, because I also think like obviously in this moment, there is an intelligent, aware being that is perceiving and hearing these words. And so it's the freedom of that one infinite being that takes the form of the belief in separation. So it's the intelligence and the beauty and the love of that one being that investigates that belief. That because it's like because a lot of the Neo-Advaita people seem to say like we're basically powerless.
right. Yeah. They
We,
don't feel
we
empowered. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, well, they also say we, and when they say we, they mean the separate individual. Because sure, like in this moment, that which is perceiving and speaking is not a separate individual.
Correct. It's
There
impersonal. Yeah.
is exactly, but there is something perceiving and
Yeah.
hearing.
There's something
So
perceiving through these eyes and your eyes right now. Yeah.
totally, exactly, yeah,
Yeah. That's
totally,
pretty cool. Yeah, that's interesting. The other thing I noticed in the interview, you talked about being an actor, and I was kind of relating to that
yeah,
because you're artistic and you were talking a lot about when you're doing your acting or singing or the different things that you do, it's kind of like coming from that effortless being. It's like, Rob or Elliot, Elliot disappears when he's playing those roles and it's just kind of
yeah,
naturally unfolding. So you're kind of like out of your head or out of that separation and it's just naturally flowing from effortless being and you just kind of spontaneously do whatever it is that you're
yeah,
doing. Do you feel that kind of thing?
yeah. I mean, I would have like before I was interested in anything, I always just sang as a way of what I would have called escape, from my life circumstances. But really, the description of the experience would be that I merged with the singing.
Oh, I love
so that
that.
I disappeared into the singing.
Yeah.
So I didn't really know what it was that was going on. Um, because I've just always loved to sing and I've always loved
It's just
theater.
natural for you,
It's just
effortless.
natural, yeah. But now it's become sort of more of a conscious thing. And honestly, even before I really understood what non-duality was, I would experience sort of glimpses when I would go to sing because it is sort of an act of surrender,
Hmm.
for sure. I mean, also it's kind of the broader umbrella of this is there are so many moments throughout everybody, no matter whether they're interested in the truth or not, throughout everyone's day where they're experiencing their true nature without really realizing they're doing it, in mundane acts like, you know, friendship, like true friendship between two people. We think it's just this like whatever thing, like, oh, you're my
Yeah.
Facebook friend or something. But
Yeah.
like true friendship is this unbelievable, profound experience of unity that is just sort of like, okay, whatever, you
Yeah,
know?
we kind of minimize it, but we don't realize, wow, it's really profound. Yeah.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so for me, definitely, I mean, I still find like so many experiences in art and music that like are absolutely transcendent, even if the person who's the vehicle wouldn't have any idea what I'm talking about.
Right.
Like I usually tell people that the real truth-loving community in New York City is the theater community.
I love
That's how I feel for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
So what do you do? You're doing, oh, you doing stuff on Broadway or theater or different stuff?
No, well, I was an opera singer for a long time.
Oh, very cool.
That's what I originally studied. I'm sorry if you can hear the heater in the background. There's some,
I don't hear it. Yeah, it's all
okay,
good.
okay. Um, I was an opera singer, and so now I'm more of a theater artist and TV film actor, but I do musical theater too. So it's like a
My
run the gamut.
first experience with acting, my sister's like, "Oh, you want to be an extra?" They were doing a movie Hustle with Adam Sandler, and they needed like
That's cool.
they needed extras. So I went down. They did it down in Philly, where the sports arena is over there, and they had some of the NBA players there shooting and stuff. And I got to go like run up and down the sidelines with the camera, just like as an extra. It's kind of
Oh,
fun.
nice.
And then I did what other ones did I work with? Hustle. Yeah, Hustle was the name of that film that Adam Sandler did. And the other one was Creed 2. I was like the judge who rang the bell.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
That's
so it
awesome.
was kind of cool. And then the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, the new series. I was just like an extra, like a cop, like walking around. It was just fun to be around. It was kind of cool.
That's really cool. Yeah,
Yeah, stuff like that. So yeah, I got to see some of that, but it was really fun.
that's
But yeah,
awesome.
life can be fun, like you can enjoy the life, even, realizing your true nature and knowing what you truly are. You can still, it's almost like this peace that you have, and then it's like a freedom, I would say. Like, I don't know, like life's kind of like light for me now. Like I don't take like everything so
Yeah.
seriously. Do you feel
I
that
mean,
too?
I
Like it's just
think
kind of,
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's what makes life like the best. I mean,
hmm
it's because it's once I'm free from this idea that everything that I am doing in my life is so serious because
yeah, right.
like everything was so serious as
I
a separate
am.
person because it is actually like life or death ultimately. Like this whole thing about like I need to live my life in a way that is meaningful so that I can create like a legacy or something. Like every moment of my life is some sort of like thing I'm leaving behind. But once it's not so serious, yeah, but you're free to take it really seriously. You're free to
Yeah, you can
like
go that way or that way. Yeah.
totally, yeah.
You got the freedom to go either way. I mean, even like with this, like doing this YouTube channel, like, some people are like, well, how do you just like talk? Like, I'm just like relaxed. And I'm just like, it's just happening effortlessly, just going
Totally.
up, talking to people, or even the books I'm writing. I came out with a new book, Awakening to Effortless Being. Like David Bingham wrote the forward to it. But just writing the book, it's almost like automatic writing. It's just like flowing through. Like everything's just seems to me just happening. Like, do you kind of like you feel like you're in the flow, but you're not? There's like an ease about it, and there's not like I want anything from anything. It's just whatever is inspiring you to move. You know what I mean? Like you have that inspiration to move, you just move.
Totally.
That's
Totally.
how it kind of feels.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like that's what's always been happening, right?
Yeah, it's always been happening the whole time, but yet I thought it was this separate guy, Rob, doing it all. But
Totally.
really, it's always been this anyway. It's all
Yeah,
just been unfolding effortlessly anyway. Everything's just happening by itself, so to speak. It's almost like I'm witnessing it or noticing it all happening, but it's just flowing effortlessly, like intelligently with love.
definitely.
So, what are you doing now? What's your everyday life like now? Like, since would you, if somebody asked you, are you self-realized, Elliot? What would you say?
Well, if I myself realized, I would say that I'm happy. I
Huh?
wouldn't say I
I
wouldn't
like
I
that.
wouldn't say that I'm self-realized in a sense. I mean, it's exactly the same thing. The truth is like it's more because listen, like I think in a lot of modern spiritual circles, there's this tendency to like um set up a new belief system on top of being. So like I'm not a personal being, but I'm impersonal being, or I'm unlimited awareness. And the truth is that for me, and my perspective, my view of things,
Right, right.
that another belief, like, or not another belief, another concept, like unlimited, is kind of equal to the limited vantage point in that it limits, somehow it defines being. And that the true and only experience of real, pure being is a state of not knowing. So of not knowing anything about what I am,
Oh, I like that.
not knowing. And so for me, if you ask me like, what are you? I mean,
Yeah.
that's a
What are
different,
you? What are you
what
gonna
are
say?
you? Yeah, I would say that I'm whatever it is that is perceiving this experience in this moment.
Love that.
Yeah.
It's
And
true.
that
Yeah. Anybody can
totally,
relate to that. That's listening.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. And also that thing is absolutely unqualified, that I don't know to be a person. And there are other intimations, like there are experience, the experience that like right now, you know, like the experience of love, for example, that go beyond that not knowing that, because that's love is the experience of unity, of the oneness of two seeming individuals. So yeah, I would say that I'm absolutely unqualified and that I'm the awareness that is perceiving this experience and that I am absolutely at peace.
And how about like in the experience, I know you're the beingness, the impersonal beingness, seeing all this experience, watching it all happen. When you're seeing on the screen, or like the analogy of a movie or whatever, you see the movie happening and you're watching it. It's almost like here's the world, everything's happening, experience, and you're pressed up against it, watching it. When you're watching it, and maybe the movie gets a little dark, like
Yeah.
how does that feel to you? Like how do you process that?
Well, I don't feel removed from, well, I don't know if I'm not sure if I'm not 100% sure if I understood what you just asked me, but
Yeah, go
yeah.
ahead. No, I can
Well,
clarify it. Basically, I'm just saying, like if you see like things happening, maybe in your personal experience, maybe you experience some negative emotions like depression or anxiety or hurt
yeah,
feelings or something in the a relationship goes bad or I don't know, maybe you bounced a check or you had money issues or people listening, stuff like this is happening to them, but yet we're all remaining as the pristine infinite being. But a lot of people, what they do is they see that and it affects them. Does those same things affect you that way, or how do you see all that? I should say. What's your
well, sometimes it does. I'm not claiming perfection, but but less and less and for shorter and shorter periods of time.
okay?
I mean, I would say that like when something like that arises very quickly after I realize that. And in a moment of realizing it, it's kind of what I said before, like there's a letting it be that takes place. It's not
Mhm.
some new activity to get rid of it. If anything, there's a desire to understand because I kind of have this inkling that if something like that, unless if it's physical pain, it's a different story. It's not if it's more about psychological suffering that we're talking
Right.
about.
Yeah. Psychological is the way of suffering because it's the thoughts and yeah,
Totally.
thoughts coming
So,
in.
so if there is psychological suffering, I take it as I said, an alarm bell, like an opportunity to somehow listen to whatever is being presented and trying to understand like, okay, what is this trying to tell me
Well, I like that. Yeah.
about like where I'm misperceiving? Because in a lot of instances, it literally I don't actually honestly I'd prefer to say I don't know what it is. That's what I'll say because I can tell you what I think it is, but most of the time when I do that, it actually sets me up down the
Yeah,
road
it's true.
further.
You better off
So
not
like,
knowing.
yeah,
Yeah.
so in those moments, it's very humbling
Yeah.
to just say like, okay, like something's going on, and I'm willing to know. I'm willing to admit that I don't know. I don't know. I'm not, I don't know, and I want to know. So I'm willing to just listen
I like
and
that.
just be with it.
And you notice when you just be with it, you just listen, it just tends to and eventually just resolve itself. Because I mean,
Yeah,
it's like this
or
too shall pass. It just comes and it just goes, but yet you're still remaining the whole time. But these life
yeah,
experiences and the events just kind of just work themselves out.
or when I don't touch it, oftentimes what is reestablished is the perfume of peace
Ooh, I like that.
in the background. So
Mm.
it's even if a lot of times it dissolves in a very interesting and unexpected way. And um, but even if it doesn't dissolve, it's sometimes it reestablishes the sort of subjective piece. And then, it's kind of just who cares if it goes away or not. It's just I don't even really at that point I kind of just
You lose
relax.
interest. Yeah,
Yeah, I lose interest. Yeah, that's a good
and
way to
just
say it.
relax. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, have you been this understanding stuff like how we're talking here? Do you talk like this with other people in everyday life, or?
Probably a little too much,
Oh,
but
really? Tell me more. I want to hear this.
no, yeah, I mean, I'm definitely like a non-dual fangirl, like I definitely will, I mean, with my friends for sure, I have a lot, most of my friends are interested in the truth. And so, and it's
When you say
beautiful.
the truth, let me just pause you there. When you say the truth, just so the audience knows what you're referring to, what do you mean by that?
Um, well, the truth about what we are, or maybe the fundamental, hmm, I don't know. I mean, I think the truth about what we are, like you say, or you could say the nature of reality or the source of peace and happiness. Um, yeah, whatever it is that draws us to seek happiness, that's what I would say. That's what I would say is the truth. Whatever, and because honestly, it feels more like it's whatever it is that draws us to seek, because that's really the most important aspect of the love of truth is the desire that arises spontaneously in each of us to be open to seek it. And the cool thing about that too is that in that desire arising is already the fulfillment of peace and happiness.
Love that.
It's like you're literally buying a winning lottery ticket with like 100% guarantee or something.
I love it. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
It's great. And so, yeah, I do talk about this very openly with a lot of friends, and it's amazing because we can get together talking about the truth, talking about nothing, talking about stupid things,
Right.
and it's still sometimes even more when we're not talking about the truth. Is it that experience of presence is amplified, is shines? And then also, whatever, I try to convince my family too often. I try to get them interested, or I've just like it's just become my whole life. So like it really affects every single aspect of my life, and I do share it with enthusiasm, you know.
Do you find like your intuition kind of gives you like a nudge, like, oh, now's a good time to share it, or now's not a good time to share it? Do you kind of feel that, or do you just, or you're just flowing with it? Like, how does that work for you?
Well,
How does that work?
I think I think that when I shouldn't be sharing it is when I have an impulse to share it.
Wow. Okay.
I think that when it's asked of me, I think that when the moment presents itself for me to share, if I, but I mean, nothing happens by chance, right? Like
Right.
if I share and someone rejects it completely, it's like, it's just what was meant to happen. It's not
Not a big deal. Yeah.
not a big deal.
Hmm.
But I do think that like the moments when I have a predisposition to want to share it, it's it's usually not taken in. But when it's asked about, that's all. And also when it's asked about is when the most genuine response arises, because it's not a separate me who's coming up with cool non-dual answers.
Right.
Like I'm more of it's like we're all instruments in the like universal song of truth.
Yeah, I love how you keep bringing up happiness and stuff like, like that's what this is all about at the end of the day. So would you just say
Yes.
that Elliot is happy?
Well, I would just say that, well,
That's tricky, right?
I would say that, yeah, or I would say that whatever it is that is perceiving, whatever I call I, is happiness.
hmm
Like I like I would say that honestly for me happiness, and this is also another thing that I kind of feel about a lot of mainstream non-duality is that they also a lot sometimes set people up into a new state
Right.
of
And you got to
like,
maintain this blissful, happy state, and it's almost like it's setting you up for failure to
well,
or not
I
failure, you know what I
mean,
mean? Like a
yeah.
letdown or something, because you're thinking, oh, now that I'm self-realized and I've been searching for this happiness, I've been suffering my whole life, I've had all these problems, and now I've found this happiness. I realize I'm the infinite being or the effortless being, or there is happiness. I can find happiness inside. I don't need all these external things. And then then you get into the state of happiness, and then something happens in the life experience. Maybe somebody dies or you lose your job or whatever it is, and then you're like, well, what happened? Or you get that letdown kind of thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, definitely I'm with you. But what I meant more was like a lot of modern non-dual teachings will talk about things like abide in the I am
Yeah.
or to, I mean, a lot of people have this idea that somehow they're supposed to plaster their attention into the subject, into that which is experiencing. And for me, the a better pointer, because the experience of consciousness knowing itself is the experience that we refer to as happiness.
Yeah.
So for me, a much
Conscious
better point,
subconsciousness. Yeah.
yeah. So for me, a much better pointer has been to shoot for happiness than to shoot for any sort of idea about subjective states or, um, yeah, exactly. Because, yeah, that's all I have to say about that. I don't.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, because happiness is really what everyone's looking for happiness without sorrow. That's really, and everyone I've been talking to, that's really what they want. They're just like, I just want to be
Totally.
happy, Rob. Like, I just want to be happy and I have to deal with all the sorrow and stuff in the
Yeah,
world. That's what everyone wants.
totally. Yeah, and yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, and also, um, would you rather be enlightened or would you rather be happy?
I think everyone would answer happy, right?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
And if you knew that enlightenment would make you miserable, you wouldn't want enlightenment.
Right.
So it's like we know that whatever it is that happiness is, that's what we seek. Whatever it is that happiness is just a word that we use to refer to the one thing that we seek above everything else.
Yeah, it's because our true nature is happy. So
Totally.
it's
Yeah.
totally happy, it's joyful,
Totally.
it's content, it's peaceful.
Yeah.
It has everything, it's whole, it's complete. That's what everybody wants. So and the reason why they want it is because that's what they are.
Totally. Totally.
So if you're getting off course, it's just because it's just like you said, like a wake up call to say, hey, I just got off course with whatever I'm thinking or happening in the world, or I've just lost touch of what I am for a minute. And then the happy, striving for the happiness brings you back to what you truly are.
Definitely. Yes.
Is
Definitely.
that the way you see it?
Yeah, I think it's like, it's natural for a contracted state to want to return back to its natural equilibrium.
Oh, I like that.
So I think, and because believing to be a person is a contraction, it's a belief in the mind and a feeling system in the body. And so, yeah, exactly. So it's like everything we do, even if we don't know we're doing it for that purpose, is to achieve that natural state of equilibrium and peace. Um, we're just graced enough to have found the direct way to go there. Most people are seeking it in the wrong direction.
Yeah. So if there's somebody out there seeking right now, what would you tell them? What advice would you give them? They're out there seeking.
Well, is this someone who like is seeking the truth,
Yeah.
or is it someone who's just miserable?
Huh, all right, let's take both. Take the guy that's miserable.
Well, I think, well, first of all, again, kind of what I said before, like unless the desire for the truth has arisen in some way, um, my words won't be heard really.
hmm
So for me, like I'll take my sister for example. Like my sister is very much like me and suffers with a lot of the same things that I went through.
Hmm.
And I've tried to offer her the truth ad nauseum, too much.
Right.
And and it doesn't help. Actually, what she really needs is someone to be open and to listen to her problems and to
Hmm.
help her find relative solutions and to remind her that like everything's okay. And and honestly, those kind of things for me in the not in an ultimate sense, in the true in the being gentle with myself
Right.
has been a very undervalued commodity in my non-dual journey. Just simply like being gentle with my body, mind, and understanding for the place that I am in my understanding. So first of all, a person who's suffering, unless they are interested in the truth, I probably would just try and remind them that everything's okay. A
Mm.
person who is seeking the truth, that knows about the truth. Again, I honestly think a big help to most people would just be to help them relax. Because a person who is seeking the truth, especially if they're seeking it in a way that's like on overdrive, like more investigation, more tricks and tips are not going to help them. Um, so yeah, again, just to help them to relax. I mean, fundamentally, if someone is interested in their and it's not an emergency kind of situation, like yeah, the question is like what are the it's a three-step process really. The first is like um to understand that your consciousness rather than the body or the mind. Um, and so, and once that's clear, it's clear that like whatever it is that is hearing these words right now. I also have to preface this that like, my main teacher is my main friend really is this guy named Francis Lucille.
Yeah, I know who he is. Yeah, I've listened to his
Yeah.
talks. Yeah.
So like in case Francis watches this, I fully, my understanding, like I try to express it as spontaneously as I can from my own experience, but a lot of the ways that it's formulated do, you would say, oh, he was just quoting Francis. So if any of this comes out as being, I gladly surrender these words to
Yeah.
Francis's
No,
quotes.
we get
Just
it.
to let you know, I just want to
Yeah,
let you
no,
know.
we get it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that your consciousness rather than the body mind. I think that's extremely important because
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, when they get on the non-dual search, they're somehow investigating a person that they believe to be a person
Hmm.
rather than understanding the fundamental nature of what they're calling the person. So once you understand that, like the chunky part of you, the real part of you is that which is perceiving these words right now,
Right.
and that it's not that like sometimes Francis will say like if by chance the body and the mind and consciousness were separate and you had the choice of would you rather have a body and no consciousness or consciousness and no body, what would you
Mm.
choose?
Of course. Yeah. The obvious.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no use of a body with no consciousness.
Right. Consciousness. Yeah.
So we know intrinsically to be this consciousness that's perceiving. And so, and then the question is, experientially, because again, the goal, like for me, the goal is not to become unlimited consciousness. The goal for me is to understand what I'm believing and to ask myself, what evidence do I have that that's true?
Hmm.
To investigate the totality of the evidence that I have that the consciousness which is hearing these words is limited to the mind, limited to the body, dependent on the body, has an age, has a weight, has a gender, is limited in any way. Can I perceive a limit? And that has to be firsthand experiential. Again, like no one telling you about that is gonna give you the experience of that. So once that's been experienced, at least for me, my experience of that investigation is that I have no idea. I have no idea whether I'm limited. I have no idea whether I'm unlimited. I know that nothing I perceive can tell me anything about myself. I know that no thought that I perceive could limit me in any conceptual way. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think that a thought could somehow have an effect on my nature.
Yeah, it's impossible.
Yeah, exactly. So. I come to this absolute not knowing, you know? And, beyond that, there is more, but it's like by, it's in terms of what we can do, we can only use the tools that constructed the belief in separation to deconstruct the belief in separation.
Hmm.
And then, again, another Francis quote, he says, we're at the threshold of grace, and we can't go any further on our own, really. It's just and honestly, do we need to? The question is like, is this not knowing enough for my absolute happiness? That's a question. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. And you
Let
have to
go and
answer.
let God, right?
Well, yeah. And also, for me, the experience of not knowing is the direct experience of happiness. So in my not knowing, I find complete fulfillment. Um, and so like that's why I say like beyond I don't need to know that I'm unlimited, eternal, infinite being as a concept through as words. I don't need to
Right.
be able to
Just
express it
words.
in
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah. You just need
Um,
to feel, you just need to feel that happiness or know that you're happy and complete inside in your direct experience.
yeah, because who cares,
Yeah, it's
honestly?
just a word. Yeah, it's just a story, a word, whatever.
Yeah. Well, it's just yeah, exactly. It's like it's almost like the peace and the happiness is so satisfying
Yeah, like
that
who
like
cares? Yeah, yeah,
who cares?
doesn't matter. Yeah,
Yeah. That's why I also think like one of the things I constantly am amazed at is how ordinary all of this has become. Because like I think there have been varied degrees of my spiritual search where I was like more interested in these extraordinary aspects of being and more interested in this sort of transcendental experience I might have or whatever. But but um honestly the true experience of being is very unsexy.
yeah. It's
Like it's
ordinary, right? It's
very
ordinary.
ordinary, yeah. It's very like they say, right? First the mountains are mountains, then the mountains aren't mountains, and then the mountains are really mountains again. But they're just, but it's just that nothing is as serious as it once was.
Yeah, that's how I started the call. It's just kind of like a lightness to it
Yeah,
all, and an okayness, like everything's okay.
totally.
Yeah,
Yes.
David's been doing these. He just got his own web. I don't know if you're familiar, but he got his own website, and then he's been having these monthly calls that he gets on different people that are interested in that, and he's been doing those calls. Something new that he's been doing. I don't know. Are we familiar with that at all? Or
No, I didn't know.
yeah, he's got it's like davidbingham.org, and he has these monthly calls, that he does, and he just talks about like what we're talking about. So there's some people on there that are seekers, and there's other people that are on there that are already self-realized, and it just seems like what's been coming up is like people like there's this desire for people wanting to share this like in an organized way. Have you ever had a desire like that, or
I've I've had a desire like that again I've sort of um been suspicious of.
okay,
Um because I think I love talking about the truth, absolutely.
you do?
But I
Okay,
have
good.
no desire to have an agenda
Hmm.
with the truth. I just love it so much just as it is. And I love talking about it. I'm so happy that you invited me here to chat. It's like
Yeah,
it's absolutely I mean, and I'm loving the chat. I'm loving sharing the truth, but and I would be open to doing that more. But I have no like overwhelming desire to do it. And also, I find for me, I do it in my art also.
love
Like
that. Yeah,
my, like I feel like everything has become so sacred everywhere that like, um, yeah. So I definitely feel that like the fulfillment, the expression of it is being fulfilled there in other ways. But I love having conversations. I did actually at one point think about starting a podcast
oh,
that
that'd be
was
awesome.
yeah, like where I was similar, not exactly like this. I won't use effortless being as my title, but just because I love talking about it, and you
Yeah,
know,
me too. I don't know. I just like talking about the truth and stuff like that with people. It's just, I don't know, something about it. And I just feel like people like listening to our conversation because I remember when I was, when I didn't know like a lot of this stuff, there was a lot of suffering, and I just want people to be happy, to be joyful, to just to have like what we have here, just like this peace, this knowingness, and I don't know. I just feel like through the conversations, like people listening, can benefit and they could, maybe realize their true nature or have some more happiness, whatever words you want to use, like just uplift them in some way. And I've gotten feedback like that from people on the calls. Can you hear me? Hello? Did you get cut off?
I'm so sorry, my
Oh, there
internet
you go.
cracked out.
Oh, no problem. No, I was just saying, like, I just feel like people listening to our conversation can benefit in some way. They can feel uplifted and, just to have, the knowledge that we have, or not even the knowledge or the experience, or maybe something resonates
Yeah,
that's speaking. I just love the feeling of, I don't know, just like, it's like I have this inside and I just want to, let it flow out.
definitely, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, can you hear me and see me okay
Yeah,
still?
you're good.
Okay, because my internet was being weird. Definitely, yeah. And I mean, I think that happens in everything we do in our life is kind of that. It's
Oh,
like, like what I everything anything I do out of my love for it and my joy for it shares that understanding, regardless of whether it's explicitly talking about the truth. And that's kind of why I mean, like, I think I prefer to have my if I'm talking about the truth, it's sort of like that I'm a vehicle of it rather than like there's this person who wants to share it.
yeah, it's like you're embodying it and sharing it in all aspects of your life.
Yeah,
I love
definitely.
that. And this is just one aspect, right? Just having a
Totally.
conversation about it. And then in your everyday life, like you said, with your art and you're expressing it through your singing and your acting.
Yeah.
So
I
having
mean,
that.
because especially like for me, it's been very surprising the way or the places in which I've had.
Your internet froze. The internet froze again on your end. You're just kind of frozen right now. Technical difficulties. Please stand by. There you are.
Oh, okay. I'm
You
so
froze
sorry
again.
about that. Okay, that should be better.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. Yeah, just it's just surprise, exactly. It's like um I think I used to think that like these kind of scenarios was the only place that it could
Uh-huh.
shine. And I've had like I've just been surprised constantly about the mundane areas of my life where this has just been vitally present in my phenomenal experience. Um, yeah, life is this giant display of truth.
Love that. I guess we could end there then. That's great. And if there's anything else
Yeah.
you wanted to say, or
No, it was just fun to talk.
yeah,
Thank you for having me on. It was
yeah,
nice.
thanks for coming on, man. I know how it all came about. I sent you an email. I think I had the wrong person on the one email, and then we're like,
Yeah,
hey, it's just funny how it all just like I'm like, okay, I just go with whatever
great.
flows, And then I had listened to your interview with David originally, then I just listened to it again last night, and I don't know, I thought it was great. Your interaction and took some things away from that, and it was great. And I'm happy that you decided to come on and talk
Oh
about it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it's all
thank you
good
for having
stuff.
me. Great.
Many blessings to you, and
You
I wish
too.
you the best. And happiness is what it's all about. So I'm glad that you're experiencing
Absolutely.
that in the everyday and sharing this in your own expressions in your art and different ways that you're doing it. So that's fantastic.
Perfect. Yep. Thank you too. You too. Definitely.
All right, man. Well, you enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Okay.
Thank you again for coming on. Much love to
Of
you.
course. You too.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.